And on the other hand, a lot of expectations from family. You see, when you graduate na, तो आपके parents को होता है कि now he's going to be my बुढ़ापे का सहारा type scene. So they end up feeling miserable when they are unable to provide what the parents are expecting. One side, it's what you have already in your hand, but you're unable to get the opportunities to display your creativity, to display whatever you have in your personality. And on the other hand are the expectations. I would say you just become so weak. आपको डर लगने लगता है. Okay, I have the degree, everything. What if I won't be able to do what my parents are expecting me to do? तो फिर उसके बाद they end up losing themselves, trust me.
Hello, my name is Habib Ahmed, and you are listening to Pakord. Each episode I talk to different guests on this show from all over the world, and we have one thing in common: Pakistan. Let's talk about resilience. We have a really thought-provoking discussion about the most common challenges that affect our Pakistani youth today. Our guest, Mehmooda Shah from Rawalpindi, Pakistan, breaks us down with her own story and shares her experience on dealing with obstacles, failure, and disadvantages in life. In the first few minutes, we'll get to know Mehmooda a little better and then dive into the main subject. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, I am Mehmooda Shah. I'm basically from Quetta, Balochistan, Pakistan. And I was 2 months old when my father set up his business in Rawalpindi in Islamabad, so we shifted in here. I'm 26 years old right now, and I have done my BS in psychology from private university in Rawalpindi. Afterwards, I had a lot of experience, working experiences in different sectors. I get to face a lot of cruel faces around in the society. And I would rather say that I am sort of rebel. I just went against the norms set for me by the family and by the society, because I'm from Quetta, so it's quite a conservative society.
Tell me a little bit about Quetta, because I've never actually been there.
Okay, Quetta is, I would say, last year I went there and I just concluded it that way, that the world is moving ahead and Quetta is moving backwards. Because probably it's very neglected as a province. The government is not paying heed to any of the problems there. उसके अलावा भी वहाँ के जो लोगों की mentality है, it remained the same. जैसे वो कुछ अरसे पहले थी, few years back, the same mentality आज भी पढ़ लिख के भी they are almost the same. I mean, nothing changed. It's getting dirtier every passing day. Although the people, my family, I love them, the situation is not so favorable. I would never love to spend my life there. Definitely not.
Can you give some examples you mentioned?
मतलब इस तरह से that they still consider it a bad thing if a girl is going against the norms. I mean, if she is way too ambitious. So they'll try to just, pull her leg. She doesn't need to move ahead. She just needs to learn how to cook, how to, rear and bear children. That's what she's supposed to do because she's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. There are, of course, exceptions are always there. I would give you an example of my father's side family. I have never met my uncles, my father's brothers. They were very strict. They had, I would say, उनकी जो बीवियां होती थी, they would go to their parents' house in blinded cars at night. They were that strict. So my father was a different person. He had a different mindset. He couldn't cope up with the ideals they have already set. So यहाँ से आप अंदाजा लगा लें that after my father got married, he did not get married there. So when he got married and he took my mother along to his brother's house, and his brother was very angry at him for making his wife sit on the seat next to him. He was making his wife sit with him and not somebody else's wife. But they were angry for doing that because he was sort of violating the customs or something. So this is the smallest example I'm giving you. With the passing day, the girls and boys are getting educated, but there is something which is in the blood. You cannot change that.
What is your ethnicity, by the way? Are you Punjabi or are you
No, I am
Balochi?
Pathan. I'm Pashtun. I'm basically from Achakzai tribe.
Okay, got it.
But I would say I would not particularly target some ethnicity कि उसमें
Yeah,
ये rules होते हैं या इस तरह से होता है. I have seen people here in Punjab as well because मैंने बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ time spend किया है. There are some rules, some norms जो कि हर एक ethnicity में कुछ weird से होते हैं.
yeah, of
So that
course.
was one of the example from my side. But then there are other girls I see struggling around. So yeah, it's very common. As a whole, Pakistani society में बहुत सारे मसले हैं इस तरह के.
Yeah, and oftentimes this whole conservative mindset, we see that not just in Pakistan but other places as well. As you get closer and
Very
closer
right.
to a big city, people become more progressive and more liberal. For example, even in Pakistan, my cousins living in Islamabad and extended family living in Lahore, most of the girls are allowed to work now. It's changing very quickly.
It is, absolutely, it is.
But of course, living away from the city, like Punjab, maybe 2-3 hours away from Islamabad in some random small towns. I have some family there as well. लड़कियों को बाहर जाने की इजाजत बाहर तो जाने की दूर की बात है. You can't even stand next to the window. You can't even go to your roof, like छत पे नहीं जा सकते.
Exactly.
तो वो उधर जाके rules बिल्कुल बदल जाते हैं.
बिल्कुल बदल डालते हैं और एंड द थिंग बिहाइंड दैट एक और जो बहुत मजे की बात है दैट इज हाउ यू मेक योर पेरेंट्स ट्रस्ट यू. आई मीन अब मेरे जो पेरेंट्स हैं दे आर वेरी डिफरेंट. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आई एम वेरी वेरी लकी इन दिस रिगार्ड दैट दे हैव गिवन मी ऑल द आई वुड से अथॉरिटी इन द वर्ल्ड टू डू व्हाटएवर यू फील लाइक डूइंग. So
Hmm.
that is one of the reasons I went out of my house. आपको पता है I am the first ever graduate from my father's family. मेरी फैमिली
Wow.
में कोई लड़की नहीं इतनी पढ़ी हुई और ना उन्होंने जॉब्स की ना कुछ. My mother's family is different. उनमें काफी ज्यादा they are very good with education और उनको कोई इस तरह का मसला नहीं है. तो yes, ये मुझे क्रेडिट जाता है and I would definitely credit it to my parents because if they wouldn't have given me the enough confidence, I wouldn't be what I am today. And I wouldn't be as resilient as I am today. My family shifted here back in 1995 when I was just 2 months old. My birthplace is Quetta, but my actual home is like Rawalpindi because I brought up my studies, everything, the education, the work. I just got every experience in here. I work with the institute with a lot of youngsters who were unable to achieve something what they aspire for. They just come here like, okay, let's give the civil service a try. Maybe we'd be able to get in there. So whenever I'm attending the seminars and I'm giving them a sort of motivational talk, this is something I come across. Ma'am, we did not do this. We are not good at it. Do you think we'd be able to do it? So what happens जब वो graduate होते हैं, they are not given enough space, they are not given enough opportunities कि जिससे उनका confidence build हो, और they start losing it. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता they start actually अपनी जो उनकी abilities और capabilities होती है ना, they start questioning it. उनको लगता है कि okay, no matter how good they are at something, they might not be able to make it through. तो ये थोड़ा सा एक issue हमारी ये youth में है, the people of my age, be it girls or boys. If we are working, the environment is so manipulative, we are not getting the due share we deserve. If we are going to get any healthcare or something, or I think when you're 26, you don't want to be dependent on your family for finances, I guess.
Yeah.
But हमारी society में थोड़ा सा मसला है because the opportunities are less, people are creative, people are intelligent, they are unable to get what they really aim for, and they end up becoming depressed, anxious. So this is something which really bothers me because everyone in my company, if not 100%, 80% girls and boys of my age, they tell me this, that they literally put themselves to sleep while crying. And it's not a good sign. Because they literally get up every day, they drag themselves through through that particular day. They don't have any particular aim for next few months, for next few years, because they have lost all the hopes. क्योंकि उनके वो hopes का कुछ फायदा नहीं हुआ ना. जब they were 18, they were asked what you want to be after 5 years, and they had a perfect picture of life. Recently, if I share my experience with you, I'm in the same boat. I'm no different.
Yeah.
Recently, what I observed is when I was 18 years old, I had a perfect picture of my life in my head that, okay, by the time I'll turn 26, I'd be something. I'll have this, I'll have this. I'd be a doctor because that was all in all the greatest dream of my life.
Yeah.
And But I just turned 26. That was a kind of depressed birthday for me because you see, I'm nothing. I'm still striving. But the good part is that I did not stop trying. I'm
Hmm.
still moving. And I want everyone around me to keep moving.
Hmm.
Consistency is the key. I mean, you keep on moving. Stagnation is no option. Inshallah, Allah is going to bless you with whatever is meant to be yours.
Yeah.
So this is something I really want to tell people that okay, it's all right if you're not getting it. I would say I'm not unlucky. I don't have a bad luck, but I encountered hard luck where
Hmm.
I failed most of the things bilkul edge par aake, where I was least expecting the failure. But you see, I'm still alive and kicking.
Hmm. Of course, the struggles that you faced might be very different from the struggles that somebody else might face, right? In your same age
Absolutely,
group.
absolutely.
But there might be some general struggles that everybody you said around your age group is facing. And one of them is a lack of opportunities. Is that right?
Lack of opportunities. Yes, exactly.
They've studied, they pursued what they thought they were going to achieve, and they are basically equipped with whatever qualifications they wanted, by their mid 20s. But opportunities मिल ही नहीं रही.
Opportunities नहीं मिल रही एक तरफ से opportunities नहीं है and on the other hand a lot of expectations from family.
Hmm.
You see when you graduate ना तो आपके parents को होता है कि now he's going to be my बुढ़ापे का सहारा type scene.
Yeah.
So they end up feeling miserable when they are unable to provide what the parents are expecting, or
Hmm.
the family, or the society. So it's I would say, two-sided pressure. One side, it's what you have already in your hand, but you're unable to get the opportunities to display your creativity, to display whatever you have in your personality. And on the other hand, are the expectations. I would say you just become so weak. आपको डर लगने लगता है. Okay,
Right.
I have the degree, everything. What if I won't be able to do what my parents are expecting me to do?
Yeah, right.
तो फिर उसके बाद they end up losing themselves, trust me.
This really resonates with me because what you mentioned, this family structural problem, right? This is specific to our Desi culture where our parents, our fathers especially, might want us to be their burape ka sahara.
Exactly.
When I compare that to society over here in the US where I live, the expectation over here for a typical white American family is you work till you're 65 years old. So you have a job,
Mhm.
a stable career till you're 65. And then from 65 onwards, you retire. So what happens is you basically had a bunch of savings on the side where you put away maybe like 15 to 20% of your income
Mhm.
and you put that in a savings account from the time that you were 20 to the time that you were 65. And the idea is that by the time you're 65, you probably have enough money in there, in that pot, to start living without a job.
Exactly.
And not only that, but they usually have a paid off house. They have multiple cars paid off, and they can support their kids as well. So a lot of these, this is called the American dream. A lot of people actually have achieved this, and it's a dream even for Desi people here now. But what's even more interesting is because we are a first generation immigrant family,
Mhm.
my parents obviously are not part of that system. They did not work here. So we and all of my siblings are part of this process of seeing our parents getting older. My dad is much older now. My mom is, much older, and they're having medical
Mhm.
issues and they're having all sorts of problems, and we are there to support them.
Mhm. Exactly.
It's been kind of a general expectation that especially the boys in the family have to step up and support not only their new families, meaning wife and kids, but also their older families.
Exactly.
This is one of the reasons why, by the way, even now people get upset when they have daughters.
Because हाँ बेटी हो तो they get upset. Very right.
Yeah.
That's so nice to know कि मतलब पाकिस्तानी mentality कुछ इस तरह से है कि अगर वो बाहर भी होती है ना, they most certainly are not willing to accept that thing कि वेस्ट में क्या हो रहा है किस तरीके से. They do not put pressure on their kids. That I'm very sure of. लेकिन पाकिस्तान में ना आप तो एक्सपेक्टेड मतलब यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल ये है कि अगर आप कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम में बैठ रहे हैं ना तो और अगर आपके पूरे खानदान को पता है you're very good, you're very skillful, you're very, I would say, knowledgeable, but you start losing the game because you are fearful. You're like, oh my god, what if I fail? The entire khandan be like, ye to nalaik hai, isse to kuch nahi hua, this and that. So they're afraid of it. So the pressure, the societal pressure, the family pressure, the parental pressure, this is something which is actually killing our youth from within.
Yeah, the stress of growing up is already bad enough as it is. In your 20s, you're basically discovering yourself, आप अपने आप को establish कर रहे हैं.
Bilkul, exactly.
And it's a very scary feeling, I know, by your mid 20s to ask yourself, okay, am I where I wanted to be? और फिर ऊपर से अगर फैमिली की burdens आपके ऊपर आ रहे हैं I would really stress this to parents, but the problem is for a lot of them, it's already too late. वो बदल नहीं सकते.
Very right.
I think when we become parents, it should be very important for us and anybody listening to the podcast to emphasize be self-sufficient, so support yourself as well as your family, and not have a setup or a situation where you might want to depend on your kids. This should not be part of the plan. ये आपके प्लान का हिस्सा नहीं होना चाहिए कि यार
नहीं होना चाहिए.
मैं ये 60-70 सालों का हो जाऊंगा तो मेरे बच्चे मेरा ख्याल रखेंगे. Like ठीक है, अगर ज़रूरत पड़ जाए तो of course your kids will be there for you. लेकिन ये expectation ऐसी नहीं होनी चाहिए. You need a proper retirement plan is what you need.
Exactly. But if you give your kids enough space to grow, most certainly पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी में ये मैं कहती हूँ कि ये पाकिस्तानियों के खून के अंदर होता है. It's inside us कि हमारी नेचर में ये चीज़ शामिल है. Even when the kids grow up, when they have good lifestyle and everything, most certainly they are going to take care of the parents. ऐसा नहीं है that we'll just put them aside कि हम उनका ख्याल नहीं रखेंगे.
Yeah.
But when the kids are growing, particularly boys, when they are growing, I guess parents should not put all the expectations का burden on them. So वो उनका बेचारों को ग्रो ही नहीं करने देता उसकी वजह से. अब हमारी सोसाइटी में ना दो पैरेलल वो चल रहे होते हैं. एक तरफ लड़के हैं जिन पे there is a pressure and there is burden of expectations. एक तरफ लड़की है who is going against the norm. Like parents are trying to control her. और the family is trying to control her कि भाई ये बच्चे वो जो नहीं होता जब कोई बच्ची थोड़ी ज्यादा आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश करती है, the one who is like really ambitious, they would say कि ये तो they would say कि वो तो हाथ से निकली हुई बच्ची है. So it's weird. Somewhere you want someone to go ahead, but you're putting a lot of expectations ka burden on them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if someone is very ambitious and is trying to go out and do something for herself, you're trying to pull her back. Ab ye mujhe society ki bilkul nahi samajh aati. My life was different. It's not that I was compelled to do what I did in my life. It was just, I guess the situation turned out to be that way. So I was ambitious. I would say that I wanted to help my family out in the situation. So I started working and I went through a lot. I worked in different spheres. I got a lot of experience. You see all the confidence I have today, the way I communicate, the way I interact with people. I absolutely give credit to all the experiences I have had in my life. ठीक है?
Yeah.
मतलब आप ये कह सकते हैं that I was financially independent when I was in college myself. I started working when I was in second year myself. I used to teach students who had supply in their exams. They failed few subjects. So वो इतना एक mind में था कि नहीं, I have to put all my effort into it, that they literally passed all the papers with flying colors. And that was, I would say, the first ever accomplishment at that time.
Yeah.
फिर उसके बाद, as I told you that I had a dream of becoming a doctor, which I couldn't fulfill because by the time I was in grade 8, my father had a huge business loss. So we lost quite a lot of money. And I would say I had a very luxurious life before that. जब वो consciousness आई थी तब से बहुत अच्छी life देखी थी. So I would never imagine that, a day would come when we might not be able to eat anything at night. फिर 9th, 10th में, I tried to study hard, but I couldn't get into the medical school. That was another setback. I remember when I gave the medical school exam and then my waiting list the merit lists were uploaded. It was there. When I checked it, I couldn't find my name. So my father had tears in his eyes. Probably he didn't want to say it out loud, but he probably was he was feeling bad for me. कि शायद उनकी वजह से मैं नहीं बन सकी डॉक्टर. But I didn't want him to feel that way. So I just told him, I gathered all my courage and I just said it, although this is not the truth. But I told him, okay, I never wanted to be a doctor.
Achha.
Just so that he would feel a bit better. Na?
Yeah, right.
ताकि मतलब उनको ये feel ना हो कि अच्छा जी मेरी वजह से she was unable to achieve her aim. Trust me, Habib, that was something which...
Very difficult.
I think that was the biggest failure I have had. उसके बाद मुझे लगता है कि no matter how many times I fail in my life, मुझे failure इतना नहीं feel होता. क्योंकि उससे वो जो 10-12 साल का एक ड्रीम होता है and you are constantly working for it and then you do not get it. तो वो तो पहला हार्ट ब्रेक वहाँ पे हो गया आपका. Then I started working as an assistant teacher in one of this reputed schools. उसमें भी मुझे ये था कि I'm not going to quit my education. I just kept saving the money I got from there. उसके अलावा my mother helped me. She would cook and I'd sell the dishes at school. तो वो भी एक अलग सी कहानी है, but it was a hard time.
Mhm.
Uske baad, I just got enrolled in my university. In the third semester, I started worrying about my dues and stuff. Okay, now how am I going to manage all the expenses? Allah
Mhm.
has been very kind throughout the journey. So I just saw this post somewhere randomly that they needed an online tutor for students around the world. I just applied for it. The first month was very uncertain for both the parties. I mean, I was not sure if he's going to pay me by the end of the month. He wasn't sure if I'm not going to just go like that. But Alhamdulillah, it turned out to be such a good experience that I worked with the firm for like 3.5 years. And believe me, us journey mein, there were times when I used to get 2 hours sleep only because I'd go to university in the morning, internship in the evening, and work at night. So I'll hardly get 2 hours sleep.
Mm.
Those were the days, all the struggling days. Then I didn't have any conveyance. I'd use public transports and stuff. अब उसमें भी आपको बड़ा ना पाकिस्तानी society में experience मिलता.
Yeah.
You put gowns, veil, scarf, whatever you wear. People are going to screw you like
Yeah.
that. Trust me.
They're going to stare.
They'd look at you like, wow, man, पता नहीं क्या चीज है. Literally, आप निकाब भी करोगे.
कभी लड़की देखी नहीं.
कभी नहीं. आप निकाब में लिटरली एक टाइम ऐसा आया कि मैं निकाब करती थी जब मैं लोकल वैन्स में जाती थी सो दैट आई वोंट फील अनकंफर्टेबल. बट मेरे ख्याल से दैट वाज नॉट अ वेरी गुड डिसीजन क्योंकि जब उसमें आप निकाब करते हो ना दे आर मोर क्यूरियस टू नो कि यार इसके अंदर क्या होगा. यू सी ये सोसाइटी इज वियर्ड. बट उन चीज़ों से उन एक्सपीरियंसेस से ये हुआ दैट आई Alhamdulillah, I grew stronger. I became more resilient. I knew कि हर रोज रात को when you feel bad about your life तो अगले दिन उठ के दोबारा से कैसे लड़ना है. So this is something which I learned from my life. फिर उसके बाद जब जैसे ही मैंने ग्रेजुएशन किया I started working with one firm and then another. और जहाँ जहाँ Alhamdulillah I worked, I tried to give my best.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons कि मैंने जहाँ से जब भी जॉब छोड़ी है I left it on a nice note. I mean, they were always there to welcome me back. तो उसका सिर्फ ये रीजन होता है आपने अपने आप को you see I tell people there is nobody in the world who's going to come and save you. You are your own savior.
Right.
You need to get up, tell yourself okay nobody is going to come. मुझे हिम्मत करके खुद ही उठना है.
खुद ही करना पड़ेगा.
खुद ही करना पड़ेगा. And there are times Habib when I talk to myself in the mirror even now. मैं खुद से इस तरह से बात करती हूँ that I make sure that I am giving myself a motivational talk.
Yeah.
कि इट्स ऑल राइट इफ यू हैव फेल्ड हियर इट्स ऑल राइट. अब मैंने पिछले कुछ अरसे में बहुत सारे ऐसे कुछ कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स में कुछ इस तरह से स्टेबल करियर के लिए आप प्रोग्रेस कर रहे होते हो कोशिश कर रहे होते हो. मैंने बहुत कुछ लूज किया है लाइक आई फेल्ड मेनी एट टाइम्स और बहुत हार्ड टाइम भी आया व्हेन यू स्टार्ट फीलिंग लाइक यार लाइफ आगे बढ़ ही नहीं रही. इट्स एग्जैक्टली ऑन द सेम प्लेस वेयर इट वाज अर्लियर. तो आप बुरा फील करते हो बीइंग 26 एंड देन फिर सोसाइटी का प्रेशर होता है हर तरह का शादी का भी प्रेशर होता है. यू हैव अब जैसे मेरे अपने फैमिली वाले हैं माय मामूज एंड माय खालस दे स्पीक हाईली ऑफ मी. उनको लगता है आई एम वेरी केपेबल. बट आपको आहिस्ता आहिस्ता फील होने लगता है कि यार उनको लगता है आई एम केपेबल बट आई एम डूइंग नथिंग. आई हैवंट गेन्ड एनीथिंग. सो यू स्टार्ट फीलिंग बैड अबाउट इट. सो लास्ट ईयर व्हेन आई केम बैक आई टोल्ड माय मदर कि अम्मी जब तक मुझे मेरी मंजिल नहीं मिलती आई एम नॉट गोना गो बैक. तो इस तरह से आप जो है ना आहिस्ता आहिस्ता खराब होने शुरू हो जाते हो. लेकिन देन अगेन आई वुड से स्टेग्नेशन इज नो ऑप्शन. कीप मूविंग लाइक आई एम मूविंग. आई एम नॉट एनीथिंग राइट नाउ. आई एम स्टिल स्ट्रगलिंग. But one thing for sure, if inshallah after 5-6 years I get to talk with you again, I'd most certainly, I'm sure about it, that I have a very bright future ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I would love to bring you back on the podcast for that.
Inshallah, definitely.
Inshallah.
Uska reason ye hai, Habib, that I keep sending these signals to my brain. ये मेरी मदर का जो आप कह लें उनकी philosophy है कि you keep sending the signals to your brain and the brain is going to work accordingly. If I'm telling my brain that I'm going to succeed in inshallah next few years, I'm sure about it. My brain is going to give me exactly the same amount of energy to work for that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, very good. I think environment has a lot to do with it too. मैं कई बार सोचता हूँ, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I was born in Lahore के अंदरून शहर में. And we were a very poor family. Most of the reason for that is because मैंने अपने अबू की जवानी कभी देखी ही नहीं. I've never seen my dad's youth. I was born when he was, I think, about 54 years old. So he was much older, yeah. And I'm the youngest of 5 brothers, and we have a younger sister as well. So
Okay.
basically, my dad was at an age when I was getting older, like 10 years old, where he was retiring with not a lot of money in his pocket. And my older brothers had to start running the house. And then when we moved to the US, that continued. So they started running. My oldest two brothers started working, and they never actually went to college. They never went to university क्योंकि उनको वो opportunity मिली नहीं, कभी मौका ही नहीं मिला. They never got free time. They were always hustling and working and trying to run the house. In Pakistan, my mom says there will often be days कोई खाना घर में आता ही नहीं था. रोटी होती थी, आटा होता था, रोटी के साथ हम प्याज खाते थे or something. We would eat mirchein
I
with
could
roti.
relate to it, yes.
Yeah, so there were days like that. कई days बस बैठे हुए हैं, we're just twiddling our fingers and wondering where the food would come from. I was too young to see that. I was there, but I was really young, so I did not know these things until I got much older. लेकिन मैं सोचता हूँ कि वहाँ पे opportunity कैसी है जब मैं पाकिस्तान वापस गया and I see that neighborhood again and I see how the kids have turned out, right? I'm not an exceptionally smart guy. I don't think I'm very smart. In school, I've always gotten like B's. थोड़ी effort डाल के मैंने A ले लिया. If I don't put in effort, then I get a C. So I've always been kind of an average, maybe slightly above average guy. But because of the opportunities that I had over here, because I was the youngest brother, I got the chance to go to college, to university. I had the chance to get a good job right out of university. So at the time when I was 23 years old, I had a much better job than all of my brothers ever did at that age. And now, Allah ka shukr hai, alhamdulillah, I have a very good career, very good life. But then when I think about these things, right, कि मेरी situation कैसी थी versus my brothers, versus my peers, my cousins living in that same area of Pakistan, जहाँ पे, समझ लो, lower middle class families or anything, not even middle class. If I was still there, I would probably be, I don't know what I would be doing. I would be doing maybe I'd be driving a rickshaw.
You never know exactly.
क्योंकि ये कॉलेज जाने के पैसे है ही नहीं थे. कोई रेडी वगैरह मैंने शायद खोली होती शायद.
ये तो you would see these differences in our society like anything. There are some people अब ऐसे कभी होता है ना जब आप बहुत bad feel कर रहे होते हो अपने लिए, you start comparing yourself with people around.
Yeah.
Habib, there were time when I was sitting on a couch on my friend's place. Most certainly when they'd listen to the podcast, they might feel bad about me. तो उसमें everyone was discussing the accomplishments they have made so far. अच्छा एक स्कॉलरशिप मिल गई है, एक का ये हो गया है, एक की शादी हो गई. शादी itself is an accomplishment, I would say. तो I was there sitting quiet. I didn't have anything to tell. तो वो भी बड़ा एक embarrassing मतलब उससे ये होता है you start getting into isolation. आपको लगता है कि यार बस मैं जितना अकेला हूँ उतना better है. Then you start comparing yourself with people who have got all the opportunities in the world. कि देखो वो फलाना है, he aimed to become a doctor, he's doctor, right after graduation he got a wonderful job, he started his family life, this and that. So you never know where your life is headed. तो इसका मतलब ये कि बजाय अब देखिए we have two options. Either I compare myself with someone and just sleep sulking and or probably commit suicide or something. Or the second option is that I just compare with them and I make sure that I raise my standard to that level. ठीक है, I work super hard. और everyone can. पता है हिम्मत हारने से कुछ नहीं होता. Everyone can do whatever they aim for. All you need is a little bit of courage. It's all right. There will be a lot of failures. I often see this post on the Facebook or I'm scrolling around. कि जहाँ पे the guy just reached the diamond. He's very close to it. Like one more hit of and he'd be able to get it. But he just returns from there.
Yeah.
तो कभी कभी आप बिल्कुल ना एंड पे जाके हार मानते हो, which is not good. So you keep trying. You never know when you are going to get what is meant to be yours.
Absolutely. And the purpose of my story was to show how much of a difference environment makes.
And it is I would say it is a drastic difference.
Big difference. Meaning the point of this is that some people definitely do have it easier than others just because of the opportunities that they got.
The circumstances,
were much better.
the
circumstances were
the
much
situation,
different. Exactly. Like for example, I was 9 years old when I started learning how to type. Why? And I was 12 years old when I started my first programming language. I kind of learned a programming language by myself and I started coding and I had this knack for using computers. So I was a bit of a computer nerd.
Exactly.
But why was I a computer nerd? It's because we had enough money coming in the house, enough comfort कि मैं घर पे बैठा रहता था, कुछ और करने के लिए होता नहीं था, right? I didn't have to like hustle बाजार में जा रहा हूँ, अम्मी ने मुझे दूध लेने के लिए भेज दिया है, or I did not grow up in that type of environment. My environment was completely different. I was surrounded by technology and I immersed myself in it. That does not mean कि कोई बच्चा पाकिस्तान में, you know, growing up where I grew up in Pakistan, in Andaroon Shahar, Mochi Gate, Lahore, cannot do all that. It's just that it will be much more difficult for him. However, if he's resilient, he will be a lot more stronger than I would be, because the challenges that he has faced are probably
Most certainly.
much.
The challenges are going to make him stronger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. मतलब वो कहते हैं ना कि आपको सिल्वर प्लेट पे अगर आकर कुछ मिल जाता है, उसका क्रेडिट आपको नहीं मिल सकता. You haven't done anything remarkable to achieve that.
Yeah.
बट अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रगल करके वहां तक पहुंचते हो ना, तो यू शुड बी प्राउड ऑफ योर सेल्फ कि यार ओके, आई वॉज बीइंग रिजिलियंट, आई वॉज ट्राइंग टू वर्क रियली हार्ड, आई डिड नॉट क्विट, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आई मेड इट टू माई डेस्टिनेशन. तो ये स्पिरिट होनी चाहिए, which is we are lacking the spirit, and the reason behind it is, we are not talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
Literally, we are not talking because we are afraid of being judged. I cannot tell people my story. People are not going to listen to mine because they think, okay, kabhi mujhe aise ab this podcast, whoever is listening to it, all the audience, most of the people would be able to relate to it. क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं हम सारों की stories एक दूसरे से बहुत मिलती जुलती होती हैं.
Struggles काफी same होती है कई बार.
Exactly. लेकिन कहेगा कोई भी नहीं.
Yeah, because they internalize it.
It takes a lot.
Yeah, they internalize it. In our culture, we are taught to often suppress our emotions. Emotions को अंदर रखो, you know.
And I am like an open book.
Yeah.
I am like an open book, and I really appreciate those who are like open book. The reason behind it is कि आप किसी को अपनी story बताएंगे, हो सकता है कोई आपसे ज़्यादा बुरे हालात में they'll get some motivation. आप अपनी स्टोरी किसी को सुनाएंगे and you have a good story, मे बी जो बेचारा बुरे हालात में, उससे आपको मतलब वो आपसे कुछ सीख ले. So in either case someone is going to get something from your story. तो मेरे ख्याल से इसमें इतनी कंजूसी नहीं करनी चाहिए. We should share with each other. और कभी कभी आपको स्टेज पर ऐसे लगता है, like recently I do not really feel comfortable in my friends' company anymore. Not because they are not good. I have lovely friends around me. I love them all. But the reason behind it is probably I have surpassed the level of maturity कि जैसे अब वो मिलते हैं, they are more or less my age. All they are interested in taking pictures, posting it on Instagram, Snapchat. I am no longer into all this. मतलब मैं शायद अब I enjoy company of people who are way older than myself. मुझे होता है कि they should tell me the life experiences, they should talk about philosophy, they should talk about जिंदगी. This is something I'm more interested in. और ये चीज़ें आपकी आती हैं आपके experiences से. जितने ज़्यादा harsh आपके experiences होते हैं, उतनी ज़्यादा maturity आपको, उतनी जल्दी आप mature हो जाते हो. It hits you way early. Health problems, that is another thing. अच्छा होता ये अब I think so this is something we must be hiding, you know, because we are told that way कि ये चीज़ अगर आपके अंदर है तो आपको किसी को बतानी नहीं चाहिए, वरना लोग जो है फिर आप लोग को छोड़ो, फिर आप बेटा आपकी शादी नहीं होगी. You know, nobody would be interested in you. Not. Back in 2018 I had cyst in my middle ear, so I got surgery done for that. The cyst was rapidly moving towards brain, so my doctor advised me to go for the surgery. And the name of the surgery, he said that we call it a surgery where we tell them lose your ear and save your life. Because if the cyst just touches any of the nerve of your brain, the case is out of our hands, and then it'll go into the hands of neurosurgeons. फिर वो जाने और उनका काम.
I see.
So that was a major surgery. It was a longer surgery than expected, or very dangerous. There were several risks associated with it. One of the risks was a facial paralysis, जो कि alhamdulillah नहीं हुआ. I was blessed enough. उसके अलावा the second risk was that I might lose my 60-70% of hearing for life.
I see.
From one of the left ear, yes.
The left ear, okay.
But there was no other option. I mean, of course, this time parents ne bhi socha hoga, should we go for it or we should just step back? But there was no other option. I mean, if the doctor tells you that you need to lose your ear to save the life, so what would you prefer? Of course, you'd say, yeah, it's all right. She can live without this percentage of hearing, but we do not want to lose her. So we went for it. सर्जरी हो गई, सब हो गया, ठीक है. एंड नाउ आई लॉस्ट लाइक 60-70% ऑफ माई हेयरिंग, और नियरली 80% आई वुड से. तो उसके बाद मेरी कुछ थेरेपीज वगैरह हुई, तो मेरे एक बड़े अच्छे डॉक्टर हैं, ही एडवाइज्ड मी टू वेयर हेयरिंग एड. not because of society, but I was not comfortable wearing it. मुझे खुद because I got the therapy done और मुझे वो अच्छा नहीं लगा the way it works. तो उनको लगा शायद I was under pressure कि लोग क्या कहेंगे या
Yeah.
लोगों को पता चल जाएगा. तो उन्होंने ना ऐसे, अब he was trying to counsel me but वो इस तरह गलत से हो गया. उन्होंने मुझे बोला कि जी बेटा कोई बात नहीं, see you have long hair, you can hide it. मैंने कहा अच्छा मतलब मकसद छुपाना ही है, that I have to hide it.
Yeah.
तो ये एक चीज़ आपको बहुत बॉदर करती है. अब मेरे लिए that's not even an issue. Of course मेरे लिए पर्सनल लेवल पे ये बहुत बड़ा मसला है because there is a constant tinnitus in my ear. Like बहुत ज़्यादा शोर, even it takes me half hour to fall asleep. You know, every day आपको तकलीफ होती हो कि यार why if everyone is living a happy healthy life, why have I got
Why did this happen to me?
disability sort of thing. हाँ मेरे साथ क्यों. लेकिन जिस दिन मेरे साथ ये हुआ हबीब, that day I just made a deal with Allah. I was like, Allah, you took part of my body, you gave me something which I was definitely not willing to accept, but I wholeheartedly accept it. But I want you to just give me something way better than that in this world and hereafter. और बस डील के बाद ना मेरे दिल को बड़ी तसल्ली होगी कि नहीं बस I have made a quite good deal now, things are all right. लेकिन जब I think of my parents, they get worried a lot. और उनका कसूर नहीं है because they are parents, they have, you know, they know the society. कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ऐसा फील होता है कि हमने इन चीज़ों को ना बहुत ज़्यादा सोसाइटी के लेवल पे एक वो बना दिया, क्योंकि हर माँ को अपने बेटे के लिए चांद सी बहू चाहिए, उसको कुछ भी ना हुआ हो, ठीक ठाक हो, अपना बेटा जैसा भी हो चलेगा.
जैसा भी हो, yeah, right.
चलेगा, ठीक है. तो दिस इज समथिंग थोड़ा सा फील होता भी है सोसाइटी में रहते हुए, लेकिन फिर उसमें मैं कहूँगी माई मदर इज रियली सपोर्टिव. और उनका एक स्टांस ये भी है दैट शी वांट्स मी कि मैं अपने करियर में कुछ कर लूँ, उसके बाद इफ आई गेट मैरिड एटलीस्ट नोबडी वुड बी गिविंग मी दैट कॉम्प्लेक्स वाला स्टेयर ना कि यू सी मतलब हम तुम्हारा खर्चा उठा रहे हैं टाइप वाला.
Right.
तो इस वजह से शी इज लाइक सुपर 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 सपोर्टिव. आई लव माई मॉम द मोस्ट इन द एंटायर वर्ल्ड, ट्रस्ट मी.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference, trust me, because a lot of people do not have that from their parents and they have very similar struggles.
It does.
So, and that makes it exponentially more difficult.
The struggles might be more or less the same or similar. लेकिन फिर उसके आपके जो different लाइफ में होते हैं ना, वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, डिफरेंट लोग होते हैं, वो अगर चेंज हो रहे हो ना सिचुएशन में तो कहीं ना कहीं बेटरमेंट होती है. अब मेरे अंदर ये सारा कुछ आगे बढ़ने की जस्तुजू, आई वुड हैव नेवर stepped out of my house अगर मेरे घर वाले मुझे इजाजत ना देते. मैं क्या कर सकती थी? I was just an ordinary girl from a conservative society.
Yeah.
So somehow I would say credit इनको मैं देती हूँ, and this is the reason I'm still struggling. पर मैं उनको भी कहूँगी if there is someone out there where there is no support, I mean they need to stand for themselves. Nobody else is going to come and save them from the miseries they are in.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So at the end of the day, जो भी हम बात करेंगे, that will end up, you need to be resilient, no matter what.
Resilient for sure, yeah.
For sure. अब किसी को कोई मसला है हेल्थ का, I have got this problem and I'm fine with it. You see, I cannot change it. I got what was written. तो उसमें मैं अब क्या कर सकती हूँ? You say I have two options, तो बस मैं रोना धोना शुरू कर दूँ, बस बर्बाद हो गई मेरी जिंदगी. I should settle for less or I should work hard, अपने पैरों पे खड़ी हो जाऊँ. And it's all right, you know, and this world is temporary. I mean, it's all right. At the end of the day, everyone's gonna die.
Yeah, that's true. What other qualities have you discovered are important for achieving happiness?
Oh, that is, I would say, it is going to get a bit philosophical this time because I do not really believe that there is absolute happiness.
There isn't.
I've always believed there is no absolute happiness. There is contentment.
Yeah.
We might not be happy all the time, even when surrounded by a lot of happy people. But we must be contented because I'm never happy. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि happiness is temporary. It comes and goes. You might be with friends, you are happy, you go back home, you just look at the situations you are in and you feel bad about it. Happiness is gone. तो हैप्पीनेस तो टेम्पररी है और एंड टेम्पररी चीजों का कभी कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं होता, उनका कभी कोई सीक्रेट नहीं होता. ठीक है. हाँ, वी शुड ऑलवेज स्ट्राइव फॉर कंटेंटमेंट. और कंटेंटमेंट तब आती है. अच्छा, एक चीज मैंने अपनी जिंदगी का, आई वुड से इट्स टेक अवे फ्रॉम माई लाइफ एंड आई वांट टू टेल एवरीवन दिस. शुरू में ना व्हेन आई वाज ग्रोइंग अप, मुझे कोई कहता था कि बेटा देखो फलाने के हालात तुमसे खराब है, उनसे कुछ वो कर लो. सो आई वुड ऑलवेज टेल देम, why would I care about what other people are going through? I'm more concerned about what I am going through. You see, अगर पूरे मोहल्ले में आग लग गई, would I be more concerned to save my people and my home, या फिर मैं पहले जाके neighbors की help करूंगी? ठीक है?
Yeah.
So I would say this, I would hate people making me compare with other people in that matter कि उनसे कुछ सीखो या ये करो ये वो करो. I would not help people. I would say I would not stop anyone from doing anything bad because they are sensible enough to know what's good for them or what's bad for them. But एक चीज जो मैंने सीखी और इससे वाकई it makes a difference. If you want to get the contentment part ना, कि आपको जिंदगी में सुकून और इत्मीनान हो, you have to think about other people. I mean, अपनी खुशी, अपने लिए तो देखो काम सारे करते हैं, दूसरे के लिए काम करें तो मजा आए. You see, I know I have to get up every day in the morning. I have to get ready, go to work, come back home, do this, that. अब ये सारी चीजें are associated with me. I have to do it. चाहे मैं इसको चाहूँ करना या मैं ना करना चाहूँ.
Yeah.
लेकिन when somebody else is in the need, you help them. That is where you are making the real difference.
Absolutely.
So two things I would say. You have to be resilient. You have to have aim of making difference in people's life. You're good to go.
Fulfillment is very important, I think. Like, for example, and I've mentioned this before as well, this podcast is a good example of this. I don't have to do this podcast. I do this in my free time. मुझे कोई इसके पैसे नहीं मिलते or anything like that.
I get it, exactly.
But the fulfillment that I get out of it from the feedback that people give to me, I feel like I'm making, even if it's a tiny difference, it's still a difference in some people's lives who are listening. And they really enjoy it.
And that gives you the feeling of fulfillment, the contentment, right?
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that keeping myself busy has helped me a lot. And that's just for me. Maybe it's different for other people, right? But feeling fulfilled, feeling like, you made some changes today, you made a difference today when you are going to bed. कि यार, I was a bit productive today.
Making difference in people's life. एक ये बड़ी छोटी सी बात है, but it gives you the fulfillment, the contentment, जो कि आप सारी जिंदगी आपको चलाने के लिए बहुत होती है. और जो बंदा दूसरों की हेल्प करता है, जो बंदा मुतमईन रहता है, मेरा नहीं ख्याल, no matter how hard the situation is, वो बंदा कभी क्विट करने की नहीं सोचेगा. He'd never want to quit because he'd keep on moving because he has got, aim at the back of his mind कि मैंने लोगों की जिंदगी में कुछ difference लेकर आना है. You see, what I'm very clear in my head what I really want to be in my life.
Yeah.
मुझे पता है कि I want to be a public speaker. और ये जैसे आपका पॉडकास्ट है, इसी तरह मेरी पब्लिक स्पीकिंग का ताल्लुक है to make difference in people's life instead of making money out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something, अब मेरी जॉब ऐसी है, I usually take these online seminars, virtual seminars. उसमें मैं आधा टाइम what I'm supposed to do or what I'm getting paid for, और आधा टाइम मैं स्टूडेंट्स को वो देती हूँ जो मुझे खुशी देता है. That is, I make sure that they, by the time they leave the meeting, they should be all happy and very much, full of energy कि बस अब तो कर जाना है हमने जिंदगी में. This makes me really happy, and I do this for the sake of my contentment.
एक चीज मैं mention करना चाहूँगा. This is a major pattern that I see in a lot of people in our age group, and that's this. I have a lot of friends actually in my circle, a lot of people that I've spoken to indirectly, acquaintances, who say कि यार ये मैं करना चाहता हूँ. There's this something that I have interested in, right? I have an interest in this activity, but time ही नहीं मिलता. I don't have time. And I have a lot of bad qualities. I slack off a lot. I procrastinate just like anybody else. But I find that very triggering for me. अगर कोई बंदा कहता है ना कि मेरे पास time नहीं है, usually time होता है. वो बस करना नहीं चाहते, या laziness है, या कोई और चीज़ है, कोई और variable है जो उनको affect कर रहा है. So for example, I have a friend who said, I want to start a blog. Well, why don't you start it? यार time ही नहीं है, मैं पढ़ता हूँ, ये करता हूँ, job होती है. And I'm like, okay, but you still have time at the end of the day. You're just tired. वो फिर अलग बात है. You want some time for yourself. Or maybe you're discouraged about starting it up. Maybe it's just too much work to start it up. I want to become a public speaker. I want to become a budgeter, like a financial planner for people on the side. I want to help in my community. मैं मस्जिद पे volunteering करना चाहता हूँ. लेकिन time ही नहीं मिलता. What do you mean time नहीं मिलता? ये बहुत ज़रूरी होता है. If you're really passionate about something, if you're really motivated to do something, अगर आप छोटी सी भी कोई activity कर लेना to kind of get closer to that, you don't have to do anything major, but just do something small every single day for it to move towards it, maybe start a little website,
Exactly.
just register the domain or something instead of just getting the whole website and building it. Start small and do a little bit at a time. That's progress, and eventually you'll build a motivation by getting people's feedback. People will say, "Yeah, so nice that you started this," and that will kind of push you forward. But you have to take the first step. Nobody's going to take the step for you.
Very right. और यहाँ पे I would definitely back what you said. आपने कहा कि लोगों को होता है I want to do this, but they do not take time out for that. अब इसका मतलब ये हुआ you actually never wanted this in the first place. क्योंकि जो चीज़ आपको want होती है ना, like I want this, you work for that, out of the way जाके, even if you don't have time. और ये मैंने भी realize किया. कुछ अर्से पहले ना मुझे भी ऐसी बीमारी लग गई. No matter what I'm doing, I'm like मेरे पास time नहीं, मेरे पास. So actually what you're doing is you are actually training your mind in such a way कि उसको वाकई लगता है कि time नहीं, but we have a lot of time. सबके पास time होता है. मतलब अगर पूरा दिन में time नहीं होगा तो before you sleep, you will have at least half hour for yourself. So if you really want to do something, you need to start it off. और ये मैंने कहाँ से सीखा? I have a friend, he is very, when I tell him that I'm into public speaking and motivating and motivational talk and all that, so he tells me, first he asked me, Acha, what have you done?
Yeah.
इस मैटर में तुमने क्या किया? Did you join any podcast? Did you join any? Have you any Instagram page or something like that? I didn't do it because I don't have time. I said the same. तो उसने फिर मेरे माइंड में इस तरह से डाला कि नहीं, if you want something you need to work on it. You're not going to get it in a silver plate like that. उसके बात सुन के फिर मैंने सोचा कि okay, now I'm going to look up for it. So just kept finding all the podcasts around. उस पे मुझे ये भी realize हुआ कि पाकिस्तान में अभी तक podcast का इतना trend नहीं है. So but luckily I came across your podcast and you see I'm here having a nice conversation with you.
Yeah, और मैं भी यही सोच रहा था. When I started the podcast, I was like, यार कोई पाकिस्तानी सुनता तो है नहीं podcast. But I was like, यार शुरू तो करो ना. The audience will come. The way it started was for me. I was searching for Pakistani podcasts to listen to myself क्योंकि मैं podcast काफी सुनता हूँ. And I was like, यार कोई है ही नहीं. Like कुछ हैं लेकिन they're not fitting my interests. They're not from people in my age group. I want to listen to people who are similar to me. And I could have given up just like anybody else, right? But instead, I was like, yeah, why don't I do it myself? I know a lot of Pakistani people. So I could be that person who creates it so that when other people are searching for a Pakistani podcast, they have somebody to listen to. And I hope it's entertaining enough for them to subscribe to it and continue listening to
Very right, exactly. If you feel like you need to do that, do it.
it.
If I feel like sending an email or asking somebody something, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा यार, वो जान तो नहीं ले लेंगे हमारी. They would either say yes or no, or they won't reply at all. But we at least need to take step forward. हम असल में क्या करते हैं कि हम उस चीज़ के लिए कदम ही नहीं बढ़ाते. We don't work for that. हम पहले से तय करके बैठ जाते हैं कि यार होना तो है नहीं, छोड़ो टाइप. वो उसकी वजह से ना फिर हमारे साथ ये होता है कि even if we start working, हम whole heartedly काम नहीं कर रहे होते. अब वो कहते हैं ना, there is this beautiful quote कि आपको whenever you desire for something, the entire universe conspires and gives you that thing.
Yeah.
तो इसका मतलब ये है, if you aim for something, you will definitely get it, no matter how hard the road is. You will eventually hit the right path and you will definitely be able to reach your destination only if you're resilient enough and if you have this ambition to make difference in people's life.
Yeah. I think what's happening inside the human brain subconsciously is that we have this idea, again, this is subconscious, it's not mindful. It's an idea that being busy is a bad thing. So being less busy will make you more happy.
Exactly.
So इसीलिए I think a lot of people who say मेरे पास time नहीं है, they're basically resisting taking up more things that will take up time in their day.
Very right.
Under the idea कि अगर मैं कम काम करूँगा तो मैं ज़्यादा खुश रहूँगा. So मैं भी कई बार ये सोचता हूँ, I'm guilty of this, कि यार मेरे पास इतने पैसे होते कि पैसों की फिक्र ना करनी पड़े, then I would do nothing. I just sit home and I would just watch TV and I would do whatever I want to, right? And life would be good. But then I think about it, actually, rich people are usually not happy when they're not busy. It's actually the feeling of being busy and productive that makes you happy. No matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, you see the happiest person in a poor community is busy with his life, like chipping away rocks or fishing.
Exactly. But he's happy. Yes.
He's completely happy with his life. Yeah, exactly.
You're very right about it. अच्छा एक मेरा ये है कि I'm a workaholic kind of a person. Yeah. I love working. मतलब ये कि जब मैं काम नहीं कर रही होती I feel useless. मुझे होता है कि नहीं, अगर मैं जितना busy होंगी ना, अच्छा, at the same time I'd be stressed कि मैं
Yeah.
बहुत ज़्यादा busy हूँ, मेरे पास बहुत ज़्यादा काम है. लेकिन on the other hand I'd have this thing in my mind कि यार चलो शुक्र I have a lot of work to do and it's all
Yeah.
right, at least I'm not free. अब दुनिया में कितने different type के लोग होते हैं. Some people want to be free, do nothing, and then there are some people who want to keep doing things. But then again, do what makes you happy. अगर आप चाहते हैं that if you had a lot of money, you wouldn't have done anything, आप घर बैठ जाते, okay, earn a lot of money and then do whatever you feel like doing. And if you feel like you have a lot of money but you want to go and do something charity के उसमें या any such philanthropist के काम में, ठीक है, कुछ भी करना चाहें, do that. I would just say यार बड़ा simple सा है. मतलब मैं कहती हूँ you aim for it, you go for it. बाकी मिलना ना मिलना तो it depends what's written in your destiny, how well you have worked for that.
Yeah, I'm very career oriented as well, kind of a workaholic, just like you mentioned. I don't necessarily, enjoy working, but here's a story that I'm going to present. The job that I have currently, I just started working here about a year and a half ago. And, sometimes it stresses me out. It's a very high visibility, very high caliber type of job. You have to socialize with a lot of people, get on meetings. Kabhi-kabhi main kahin ghante meetings pe baitha rehta hu. There's a lot of technical work. So sometimes it can get really busy. We'll have to work weekends sometimes. So obviously there's a lot of stress. And then on top of that, I'm like, yaar, wife ke saath bhi time guzarna hai, family ke saath. Podcast bhi, Mehmooda इंतजार कर रही होगी, मैंने उसका podcast भी निकालना है. तो ये मेरी माइंड में ये चीज़ें दौड़ती रहती हैं कि यार ये भी करना है, वो भी करना है. मेरी गाड़ी टूटी हुई है, गाड़ी को भी ऑयल चेंज लेने जाना है. Gotta do all these things. But then I think about it, मैं अपने आप को बताता हूँ, हबीब, नाशुक्री नहीं करते. Because a year and a half ago when you were looking for this job, this was your dream job, and it is still my dream job actually. Now that I think about it, अगर मैं ये job में कल खो बैठूं for whatever reason, right? I would be probably the saddest person on the planet for being so ungrateful that I had it so good for all this time. Being busy was not a bad thing. Being busy was a good thing because there's so many people around me. Even here in the US, my age group, they're looking for jobs like this one. Unko nahi milti. And, again, I wanted to go back to this mindset, this misconception that people have that being busy is a bad thing. That's not true. Actually, once you start making yourself busy, अगर आप ये mindset छोड़ दें कि मेरे पास time नहीं है, थोड़ा सा time बना दें, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा time सारों के पास होता है यार. जब आप TV देख रहे हैं रात को, you're playing video games.
When you're using your phone,
You're using your phone.
Every now and then you open your
my
phone
God,
and
so
you
many
just scroll. हाँ, all the time.
मैं खुद करता हूँ. I'm guilty of that.
Because देखें हम सारे we are all in the same boat because we are living in the same era.
Yeah.
When I'm studying, I would just all of a sudden take out my phone and start scrolling. And then, कुछ मिनट के बाद मुझे realize होता कि okay, dude, you're studying. Put it aside. मतलब हम इतने वो immune हो चुके हैं ना कि हमें feel ही नहीं होता जब हम phone use कर रहे होते हैं.
It's an escape.
It's just, what, exactly.
They've used psychologists to study the human brain so well कि उनको पता है exactly हमारे दिमाग को किस तरह occupy करना है, so that they can sell us stuff, they can market us stuff,
I recently watched a documentary and I was scared, I swear.
About social media. I think I've seen it.
Exactly, the social media.
I've probably seen it.
And
yeah.
And it was for a few days I had this fear in my mind. Okay, you see, I'm being watched, I'm being observed all the time.
All the time.
So I need to be very careful, dude. But then again, hum aur hamare phone.
Yeah, we have this weird, मैं खुद सोचता हूँ, it's so weird, and even I do this sometimes. Staring at people live their lives on YouTube or Instagram. For some reason that fascinates us. और मैं सोचता हूँ मेरी wife भी इतनी vloggers को देखती है. She watches all these vloggers. And vloggers के पास content कई बार होता ही नहीं यार. हमको like इनके पास कुछ दिखाने के लिए वो क्या कर रही है लड़की, वो अपनी closet को साफ कर रही है. वो उसने रिकॉर्ड कर दिया.
Exactly.
Millions of views. I'm like, okay, why is she watching that? I'm like, yeah, मैं अपनी wife से बात करता हूँ. I'm like, you're wasting so much time watching these people do stupid things and showing off their life. And I got this expensive car and I got this expensive purse. And we are, for some reason, fascinated by it. But then I think about it, it's not just my wife doing that. I'm watching other people too. Maybe they're playing video games and I'm watching them.
Doing the same these days.
Yeah. तो थोड़ा बहुत हम सब करते हैं. And उसमें कोई, like you said, it's not us to blame. It's just that we have to kind of minimize that. ये नहीं कि आप लोगों को ना देखें और ये चीज़ें बिल्कुल छोड़ दें. Just kind of allocate some time to that कि मैं अपने दिन में से 1 घंटा लगाऊंगा इन चीज़ों के लिए.
Or especially the ones who are good readers, ना?
Yeah.
जो अच्छे readers होते हैं. उनकी एक quality होती है that they would like to spend some time with themselves alone.
Yeah.
No phones, no gadgets, nothing. I mean, just explore. Think, कुछ भी नहीं है यार. 10 मिनट निकाल के you just stare.
Yeah.
दीवारें घूर लें, कोई बात नहीं, छत को घूर लें, एटलीस्ट you'd have some, आप अपना catharsis कर सकेंगे उस टाइम
Yeah.
में. Think about what you have gained, what are you going to lose, what changes you need to make in your life.
Mhm.
अब जैसे मैंने आपको आई गेस उस दिन बताया भी, this is very fascinating idea for me.
Mhm.
मैं बिल्कुल अंदरून सदर की एक जगह पे लंच करके बैठी हुई थी.
Mhm.
It was on the first floor and I could see a lot of people. There was quite a big crowd downstairs. तो मैंने बहुत सारे लोगों को आते चलते फिरते देखा. तो उनको ना देखते देखते ऐसे दिमाग में ख्याल आया कि there are so many walking stories around.
Yeah.
I mean, you just make someone sit in front of you and ask him to share his or her story. तो इसका मतलब ये, if I gather 100 people story, I most certainly I'd be able to make a bestseller out of it.
Mhm.
तो उससे हमें ये होता है, फिर उससे एक आइडिया मेरे माइंड में काफी अरसे से, पता नहीं if it's practical or not, or maybe if I'd be able to achieve it or not. But the idea of library, and not the very casual जो हमारी usual libraries होती है, not that one. I would say talking library, where you'd be able to, there would be an application sort of thing. You'd be able to book an appointment with the person who is willing to share his or her story with you. And then you just go there, you meet. So actually, you're not reading the book, you're reading someone else.
Mhm.
You know, the guy or the girl is sharing story and you're absorbing it. You're telling your story in return. Matlab, you just imagine it's happening. You're in a cafe-like library where you met a person you were interested to know about. तो उससे क्या होगा, आपका स्क्रीन टाइम भी कम हो जाएगा, क्योंकि जाहिर है ना आपको एक डिफरेंट एक्टिविटी मिल रही है.
Yeah.
So you go there, you just put your phone aside and you listen to the other person. And if it intrigues you, आप अपनी story उसको सुनाओ. तो ये इतना fascinating idea है. I wish, and I don't know exactly if it is happening somewhere around the world, but चाहे ये मैं execute करूं या कोई भी सुनने वाले audience में से, I would love to be part of it.
Yeah, I love hearing people's stories, to be honest, because I think, like you said, everybody has a story. If all of us got together and basically started writing a book about ourselves, right, individually, easily 1,000 plus pages.
Exactly.
About our struggles, our life, you know, what's interesting about us.
I was about to say the same. You see, it's not easy for me to just summarize the entire life. 26 साल की जिंदगी को summarize मैं 1 घंटे 2 घंटे में तो नहीं कर सकती. लेकिन हम सिर्फ वो जो छोटा छोटा चंक निकाल के अपने ऑडियंस को बताते हैं ना, but we know what we have been through.
Yeah.
It was not easy. It was a long journey. लेकिन जब हम सुना रहे होते हैं ना, we cut it short like that. But हम कोशिश मेरी ये होती है कि उनको मैं वो वाला पार्ट बताऊं जिनसे उनको ये लगे that if they are going through a lot, they are not alone in the world who are going through something. They should know कि there are other people there, but उनमें और हम में फर्क ये that we are about to quit and those people are very resilient and they are, you know, they are getting up every day in the morning and then compelling themselves to go through that particular day and move ahead with the life. तो फिर उनसे कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा. That's what I want.
If you want to get in touch with Mehmooda and ask her any questions or share any thoughts, feel free to email her. She's very open and eager to hear your stories as well. Her email is in our episode's description. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Popcorn and share your thoughts with us on Instagram and email or whatever you prefer. We also encourage you to support Popcorn on Patreon if you can. You can find all these links in our episode's description.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful talking to you. I wish and pray that the purpose I'm here on the podcast, inshallah, it be fulfilled. There would be some people I'd be able to make difference in their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Inshallah. I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mehmooda. We'll talk to you later.
Hafiz.
Hafiz.